The class. Let me tell you about another class. Oh my God, when you hear about this story, have a seat, because this is a big one. So over Labor Day weekend, the Trump administration decided they had targeted 600 children, including some children. There's one girl, she was 14 years old, she was on dialysis. Picked them out of bed at 9:54 at night, put them on a plane. The reports I'm reading and some of the declarations from the kids were like, they came for me, and that I was wondering, I was scared, I thought it was going to be my turn because they come for the other person. What does that sound like? Does that sound like Anne Frank? Does it not sound like the children from the Holocaust? That's what they were doing, picking them up, designing them up. And then they argued with, here's what they did in the middle of the night. And if you follow me, one of the things I've said is that the reason why they moved the Alien Enemies Act, those 200-something Venezuelan men in the middle of the night on March 15th, the day after Donald Trump declared that the gang is an alien excursion, and this law, this obscure 18th century law, gives them right to just report these people without due process. Though later on, all 9 justices of the Supreme Court said that's not true. You have to give those people opportunity to defend themselves against your accusation that they are gang members. And as we now know, later reporting, confession from the Trump administration and the dockets, and then also from 60 Minutes, that something like 90% of the people were not had no criminal history. And as the stories start coming out, a lot of them were not gang members. So had they been given the opportunity, the rights that they're afforded to, they would not have actually been deported. But I digress. So he did that in the middle of the night. I reported recently about some African migrants that they had shipped off to Ghana. All of them were in the middle of the night. They do that because they know what they're doing is some sneaky, illegal shit, and they don't want to be caught. So that's what they did to these kids. Fortunately, migrant organizations are aware that this government is sneaky, sadistic as shit, and so they ran to Judge Sparkles, Sparkles Sukanan. So you have Sunshine and Sparkles, I love these names, halted and said no, and saved those kids from being deported. Later on, the case was assigned to a Trump-appointed judge, Kelly, and he said he joined in with the other judges. So now you have 4 judges that thought literally that it was okay for you to deport children. Come to find out, thank you for the whistleblowers. I did say this early on in administration. I said what's going to save us is not just the district court judges, not just the nonprofits, not just the unions, but the people who are working, the 4 million people working in the government who don't like this shit. They're going to be leaking shit. So whistleblower came forward and said that when the Department of Justice had someone from declare that those children were qualified to be kicked out, that person who said that knew very well that was not the case. Just lied. It's just like, I just don't understand. Let me tell you specifically what the whistleblower said. The whistleblower said that Angie Salazar, who's the acting director of the Office of Refugee and Settlement, she put 30 kids at risk, and then trying to send those kids to Guatemala. And here's the thing: the children that they send are at risk of being abused, neglected, human trafficked, tortured, and other victims of violence. She tried to return them to Guatemala. Then later on, the judge that was reviewing another version of this case, Judge Rosemary Marquez in Tucson, found out they tried to do the same thing to Honduran kids. They tried to deport 69 Honduran kids, and so Judge Tim Kelly was asked by this children's migrant organization to certify a class to protect all the children, because she said you can't trust them. Wherever there are children in orphanage, the Trump administration is trying to gather those kids and dump them. So post-production editing, I wanted to add the reason why the migrant organization asked Judge Tim Kelly to expand the class that he'd already certified as to the Guatemalan and Honduras children to include any child in the United States who is subject to protection from deportation because they've been previously trafficked, abused, abandoned, and our laws that protect those kids that are in our current custody, that it'd be expanded because the Trump administration is trying to do it to all of them. They attached, as part of their support, a declaration from a 16-year-old kid from Mexico who had arrived at the border and who was escaping being sexually violated and assaulted by her alcoholic mother's boyfriend. I think she said that she fled to the United States. Her life was threatened in Mexico. She grew up with an alcoholic mother and father who was separated when she was young, and her boyfriend sexually assaulted her. She reported to police, but the police, his family, made death threats against her because the criminal groups in Mexico are afraid to protect her. So she was coming to the United States seeking refuge from possible death. And so because of the status of the way she was seeking, that she was fine. She said she's safe in where she is, that her sponsor in the United States is sponsoring her, and she'd been placed with her aunt and she was stable. So they want to remove this girl who left being sexually assaulted in Mexico, fled, escaping it, and we have laws to protect her. She's already placed with her aunt. Her aunt is taking care of her. They want to remove this girl and send her back to that situation. So then the micro-organization is like, we have laws and we're humane people and she's already safe. Why are you taking a safe child and want to deport her back to a situation where she's going to be sexually assaulted? So I believe, and the Trump administration are not responding yet, by the way, to this request. What are they going to say? Like, how can they defend this? So again, I think the judge is going to grant the nationwide class to protect all kids from the Trump administration. I just wanted to bring that up to your attention specifically. But they're crazy. They're racist, they're crazy, and there's and Salazar wrongfully, according to the whistleblower, declared that those kids were fine and that the parents had asked them for them, and then she was like, the whistleblower says absolutely incorrect. Judge Marquez says she saw no coordination with at least one parent that they had asked for them. She said the notice went out in the middle of the night when most of these attorneys are sleeping. Just like I said, they do that. They did that twice. So they did that to the children that they were trying to send to Honduras, and they did the children that they tried to send to Guatemala. In the middle of the night, they said, we already have a system in place to do this. I don't understand why we didn't go through the follow process. Again, I always say that one of the reasons why the Trump administration gets in trouble is because there's certain specific process for doing things. They avoid the process because the process involves accountability. The process requires standards. It requires lockstep is time, and they don't want to do time. They don't want accountability. They don't want to do the right thing. They want to be unlawful. They want to carry around this cruel, sadistic campaign, and they're doing it purposefully and intentionally to avoid that. It was discovered that in 4 of the cases, they said Guatemala, they said the children were already living with sponsors. They were just not, it was just a lie. And you can release the kids if there's certain standards, but it was like those standards, they didn't meet. They just made up all sorts of stuff. And it was in a direct violation of the rules that says you don't send children out when you know they're going to be subject to abuse. And yeah, that's crazy. So there's a class created to protect all kids. Like, we have to protect the children from this administration. Because, and Project 2025 has a section, a specific portion of our U.S. laws that protects children. Project 2025 wants to repeal that law. Why would they want to repeal a law that protects children? Children have been previously sex trafficked, abused, or tortured. And they call themselves Christian because they have no care whatsoever for children who are not white. It's a neo-Nazi white nationalist organization that Heritage Foundation is, and the Project 2025 people. And Russell Vogt was caught on a hot mic saying that he wants it to be, if it was up to him, only Christians will come here. So he's not interested in Muslims or people from other countries coming.
You can say we're a Christian nation, and my viewpoint is mostly that I would probably be Christian nationism. That's pretty close to Christian nationalism. If we're going to have legal immigration, can we get people that actually believe in Christianity? Is that something, or do we have to have, are we not allowed to ask questions about Sharia law?
What could we see America looking like, I guess, in an ideal world?
In an ideal world, I think we could save the country in a sense of, the largest deportation in history.
First Amendment, it says freedom of religion. It's a nation of immigrants. We have people from all over the place, but they're trying to twist and form and force us into this crystal fascist state that nobody asked for. I don't know if they didn't realize that did they watch The Handmaid's Tale or read Margaret Atwood's book and said, that's a great idea, let's see if we can do that, see if that can happen, and see if there could be no resistance and they could have total capitulation? I don't know. So anyway, Salazar was wrong when she said that the children do not have indications of being a victim of trafficking, and they do not have indications of child abuse or neglect perpetrated parents or legal guardian. So there was like that's crazy. So there's a class created to protect all kids. Like, we have to protect the children from this administration. She said the database indicated that at least 30 of these kids were deemed eligible to be returned to torture. And they did not. The whistleblowers, they lied. Yeah. So the good news again.